The following is a live copyrighted presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time now for RadioLawTalk.com with your host, Frederick Penney, attorney at law. And now, RadioLawTalk.com.
It is another episode of Radio Law Talk. We're heading into hour number 2 here on the show. Todd Cunin sitting in the big chair for Fred Penney, who is on assignment to my right, as I said previously, in the place of prominence and distinction, Denise Dirks. Denise, how are you?
I'm doing great.
That's a very festive outfit you have there.
I was in the mood to be festive today. I kind of match Cal, which is very odd.
We called each other.
Yes, I just went with the traditional black because it's so slimming, and
Ooh, good
yes,
call. Yeah.
and that voice, the smooth tones behind the glass. Cal Hunter, Cal, how you doing?
You know, really well, thank you. Glad to be here. Got to broadcast some high school football last night, and that's always fun.
Absolutely,
So, yeah.
Absolutely. You know, because strange things happen in high school sports.
Oh boy.
So you're listening to Radio Law Talk. You know, we didn't cover this last hour. Probably should this hour. You're listening to Radio Law Talk, and everything that we say here, while informative and entertaining and only rivaled by, as Fred would say, those alien shows, please know that the things that we say here on Radio Law Talk should not be construed as legal advice for your particular issue or any issue in general. Don't go to court saying, we heard on Radio Law Talk. In fact, as we say commonly, the only time you could really cite Radio Law Talk and probably have it be persuasive is when you're sitting around the dinner table and somebody says, well, they said, and then you can say, well, I don't know who they are, but in Radio Law Talk, Todd, Fred, and Denise said, or Cal said, and that might help you out. I think the only advice that I could probably give anybody on the air is seek an attorney. The only advice I could give is when you come up with something, if you're facing an issue that you have, find an attorney that you can talk to specifically about your case so that your conversations are protected by the attorney-client privilege, and if you retain that individual, they are loyal only and have a duty to you to represent you in your case that's specific to not only the issue you're facing, but how that issue is handled in your jurisdiction.
And remember that we're talking about a lot of times just mere allegations, and information that we're putting out there is allegations are not necessarily truth. We'll let you know if there's been an actual conviction or something to that effect. So always remember that it could be just scuttlebutt.
And most time you're working from the actual case files or copies of them. Many times we're working from media reports, and so their reliability is something for which we cannot vouch.
Absolutely. For more information on our disclaimers, please go to our website, RadioLawTalk.com, and you can find our disclaimer page there, where you can find out the extent of our advice that we give, or not advice, as the case may be. But one thing that we do every hour that is absolutely scintillating and probably the hallmark of our show, or one of those that people listen to, is Case or No Case. Cal.
Now it's time to play Case or No Case.
Oh, you have to feel sorry for Dan Shannon and Jay Kelly. Dan Shannon and Jay Kelly. They belong to the People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals group in New Jersey. They had just attended an anti-hunting campaign meeting where they were mapping out anti-strategy hunting when, as they were driving home in their Honda Civic, a deer bounded out in front of them and they hit and murdered the deer. And they decided they would sue the New Jersey Department of Fish and Game, or at least look into it, maybe just hold them accountable. They said, yeah, we think it's their fault. And everybody says, why do you think it's their fault? And they said, because the New Jersey Department of Fish and Game has decided that there need to be more deer in New Jersey, so hunters have more things to shoot at, and therefore they are at fault, and we're going to go after them with everything we have. And I ask you, Denise, I believe you're up first. I ask you, case or no case?
Sorry.
Okay. Now these are people that have kind of an extremist idea about ethical treatment of animals, to the extent that there should be no hunting of any animals, there should be no harm to any animals. So would this type of a person, which I agree to some extent to what they say, but I don't agree necessarily a complete exclusion, or preclusion.
Right.
And because I do believe that there should be some hunting if there's too many animals to hunt.
Right.
The question is, does New Jersey Fish and Game actually control the amount of deer and the population, and do they let their hunts do the controlling? Right? That's the issue. So I believe that this is a made-up case. No case.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, Mr. Cunin, what say you?
Well,
Case or no case?
I'll tell you, I'm torn on this because I am a member of PETA, and but not the traditional PETA. I'm a member of People for the Eating of Tasty Animals.
Okay, well,
And,
different group, but same initials. Right, got it. Okay.
The other extremist.
Yes, I do like a good fillet. I'm sorry, but I don't know. Look, I just hopped onto Twitter, and I'm not looking up anything here, but I remembered this. There's another one of these groups that has as their tagline that this group exists because this fragile earth deserves a voice. I'm thinking, fragile earth? For crying out loud, Earth isn't fragile.
It's put up with us for all these years.
I
It
know.
seems to be doing, yeah, right.
It's pretty darn strong. But anyway, let's see here. I'm going to say it's a case. Look, at first blush, I would say no case, but I'm so far behind in points, I have to go the opposite of what Denise does.
And I love when he does that because he always does it wrong.
Yeah, just to have a snowball's chance in HE double hockey sticks of getting anywhere. So I'm going to say that this is a case, and I am going to say that the PETA folks lose. They do not prevail in any lawsuit against the state of New Jersey. So it's a case, and New Jersey wins. This is ridiculous.
Well, these two guys said, we think the reason the deer was hit by our car is because it was running from all the violence of hunting.
Yeah, and then they killed it, and then they skinned it,
They murdered
and then they
it.
bled it, and then they
what time of year was this? When
It was hunting season.
it was hunting
Yeah,
season?
Sure,
Okay, yeah. Well,
I mean, I'm going to stick to that anyway.
I don't know. I mean, I always kind of wondered, these guys go out there to hunt deer and they get their high-powered rifles and everything. If you could find a gun that would shoot a bullet that only traveled about 65 miles an hour and had a headlight on the top of it, you'd probably kill more deer because they just stop for it. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, they stare at the lights.
Yes.
You can be frozen by them.
Yeah.
All right, so
They're blinded, actually, by
right,
the lights.
exactly, like the song. So let's get down to the blinded by the. So let's get down to this if we can.
Kudos if you know what the actual lyric there is.
Yeah, something about dude, but I don't know the whole thing. Okay, so
Wrapped up like a...
dude.
Okay, interesting.
I'm
Keep going.
not sure it's
I don't know.
dude.
I
I
have
think
no
it's
idea.
deuce.
After the break, we'll cut the
it's
we'll do
deuce.
the lyric. But go ahead, Cal.
All right, for those of you who say this was not a case, would you be kind enough to raise your hand? That would be the lovely Ms. Dirks. It's an actual case, ladies and gentlemen. They actually sued the New Jersey Department of Fish and Game, saying, you're letting too many deer grow, man. And then they're running from the hunters, and so they run in front of people's cars and commit deericide. or words to that effect. Well, needless to say, they were just trying to blame someone for when they killed the deer, so the courts in the case was not interested in their particular argument. They didn't win anything or anything like that. But it was pretty interesting stuff, I thought, that someone would say, hey, it's your fault there are so many deer out there, and we're going to sue you because of it. I was fascinated by that.
So do I get 2 points?
Yes,
you
you
get 2 points,
do.
absolutely.
You're
Yes.
at 23, by the way.
Yeah, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is case or no case, and it's also this segment. So we'll take a quick break here, and we'll come right back with more Radio Law Talk right after this.
All advertising for legal services on Radio Law Talk is strictly for the state or states in which the advertiser is licensed. For more information, go to radiolawtalk.com.
Not all law firms have extensive experience in all areas of the law. It's wise to look for firms that have knowledge and understanding in your particular area of concern. So go to prolawfirms.com. They have listings of attorneys in key areas of practice, such as family law, estate planning, personal injury, bankruptcy, and so forth. When you're looking for a lawyer that has extensive experience in your particular area of need, go to prolawfirms.com. That's prolawfirms.com.
ProLawFirms.com is not a law firm and does not endorse or recommend any specific law firm.
Jason Rosbach here with Fred Penney, managing attorney from Penney & Associates Injury Lawyers. Now, Fred, what type of cases are you dealing with now, and what sets you apart?
Jason, we help people with all types of personal injury cases. We're former insurance company trial lawyers. We understand the other side, which gives us a distinct advantage over our competition. Remember, we don't get paid unless we win.
That's Penney & Associates Injury Lawyers with locations throughout California. For a free consultation, go to pennylawyers.com or give them a call, 1-800-616-4LAW. That's PENNEY lawyers.com.
This is Denise Dirks. We can represent clients in divorce, legal separation, child and spousal support, custody, termination of parental rights, step-parent adoptions, guardianships, and even conservatorship matters. Call 1-877-886-7186 for a consultation.
The law offices of Denise L. Dirks provide family law services in Northern California. When the law affects your family, call 877-886-7186. The family of attorneys at Denise L. Dirks is here to help.
Hi, I'm Frederick Penney of Penney & Associates Injury Lawyers. I bet you're tired of hearing lawyer commercials, so just relax and listen to music for a few seconds. When you or a family member has been injured, call 800-616-4LAW or see us at PenneyandAssociates.com. See, that wasn't so bad.
I'm going to Quick Quack Car Wash. Get my car washed, make it quick, quack, pretty, shiny, sexy, just because I want to. Don't drive dirty. Going to get my car suds in the Quick Quack Car Wash. It's the Quick Quack, quickest and the cleanest by far. We're talking 3 skinny minutes sitting right in your car. Watch 100 feet of cloth washing your car at the Quick Quack Car Wash. Any Honda, Mazda, Ford, or Chevy, Sauber, Cadillac, Quick Quack will spruce her up just like that. You'll be happy looking snappy. You'll be glad you was asked a Quick Quack Car Wash. Get on the web and go to don'tdrivedirty.com and see where you got your closest Quick Quack in the local area. Get in your car, get in your truck, get on the road, come visit the duck at the
Quick Quack Car Wash, where your car will always leave happy, guaranteed. They take pride in being clean and green by conserving and recycling the water they use only at the
Quick Quack Car Wash. Quick Quack.
All right, guys, we need to have you read some lines for our disclaimer promo, but first, can anybody tell me what a disclaimer is? All right, then. Well, Denise, you go ahead.
Non uti concilius me oriere proquestis properium juris consult.
Latin, that's a nice touch. Thank you, Denise. Next time we'll try it in English if that's okay. Fred, how about you?
Cal, I don't want to read all this. Can't we just tell the people that we're discussing general legal issues and they should hire their own attorney instead of relying on what we have to say here?
Well, we could, I guess. Chris?
I'm not going to be there anyway. Why have me do it?
Let's have Todd do it.
Me? Read disclaimers? Why, I couldn't. The information you hear on Radio Law Talk is general.
The preceding promo was for entertainment purposes only. And if you want true legal advice, contact your own lawyer. Just a tip from your friends at Radio Law Talk.
Be sure to read our disclaimers on radiolawtalk.com as well.
You're listening to RadioLawTalk.com. And now back to your host, Frederick Penney.
Or Todd Cunin, as the case may be today. Folks, space is the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Star Trek Radio Law Talk. Its multi-year mission to seek out new life and go where no person has boldly gone before. But what happens when crimes occur in space within maybe our own solar system or an orbit of the Earth? Denise, what happened?
Denise, are you there? Yes, you are. Okay,
I'm here.
Yeah.
We've got Anne McLean, who is a NASA astronaut, and her former spouse, well, actually, not a former spouse, it's her current spouse, Summer Warden, she just filed for divorce. And they've separated and they filed for divorce. And this is a very interesting case. This happens absolutely all the time. I see it all the time, where one spouse will get information and access to the other spouse's financial information. First of all, is it improper or a crime? Probably not. To be candid, if it was a joint account, definitely not, because both spouse would have rights to see the information in the joint account. The astronaut was up in the space station. She admits that she accessed the bank account of her estranged spouse.
Either estranged or ex, or the ex
Not
is
ex.
or
Nope,
still estranged.
that's why
still
there's.
estranged.
Yep,
Okay,
they
got it.
just filed for divorce, but there's been no judgment of dissolution of this marriage. And so we're looking at whether or not it's a crime to access an estranged spouse financial records. And I say first, what's really going to matter is the characterization of the account. Is it a joint account, or is it a separate account? Is it an account that was opened after the divorce and was initiated? Those are the kind of things we don't really know yet. But the allegations from Summer Warden is that Anne McLean accessed her account improperly, was spying on her, and has been using different types of mechanisms and manipulations to try to get custody of her son. And it's Warden's son. It's not McLean's son.
Which, by the way, she got without the other partner's knowledge, is my understanding. If the other partner wasn't even aware this was happening until the son kind of showed up. If I read the story correctly, I could be wrong about that.
And that part is unclear too. If it's of the marriage, this should be a child, but of the marriage, right? But if the child was born before the marriage, then we're looking at is just a stepchild. Although there may still be a parental relationship, it doesn't mean that they're going to automatically get custody.
Right, and it's still a can of worms, so they're fighting over it. Right.
That's correct. Right. And there's been nasty allegations. McLean initially brought a complaint against Warden, saying that there was a assault happened, and so that then was, dismissed from the court. And now we're into this place where now Warden's saying she's stolen my identity to access my account. And the funny part about it is the response by McLean is, oh no, I didn't steal the identity. We have throughout our entire relationship had access to this account through passwords that are known to both of us. So this is going to come down to whether the characterization of the account.
And besides, I was just checking in to make sure you had enough money to pay your bills.
And make sure that you're properly taking care of our son.
Right.
Is kind of the allegation, right?
And the bills, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So then Warden now has gone so far as to file a Federal Trade Commission complaint saying that McLean had committed identity theft. So this is now going to be an issue about whether or not that theft happened. Is it a crime? What jurisdiction
is the
controls?
Space Station, the International Space Station, U.S. jurisdiction?
That's the $64,000 question here.
Wow.
Is if this is a criminal allegation, if this goes to the extent of being a criminal allegation and she faces criminal liability, what's the jurisdiction here? And
exactly.
that raises, because it's the International Space Station.
It is. But it's not just U.S. There's been, Russian involvement?
Russian, Japanese,
I know.
Indian, from the country of India. I think even some Chinese scientists have been involved.
Now, I will tell you, I think I have an answer, but before we get to that, here's some of the questions that come up here. The question is, at what point, where is the space station? I mean, is it based upon its orbit? The space station doesn't follow a fixed orbit. It doesn't follow a geosynchronous orbit. The orbit changes all the time. We do know that it's at various points over various locations on the Earth. Airspace goes straight up from the land marker. Who knows?
What country were they over when this took place?
Exactly. And let me tell you why that is and is not an issue. let's say a crime took place on the space station itself. We'll just say murder. Somebody kills somebody else on the space station. That would be a bigger issue because the crime is confined within that station. So maybe it would be an issue about where things are. But when it comes to identity theft, jurisdiction is established wherever the victim resides.
Oh, really?
Yes. So, and that makes sense. If your identity is stolen, somebody gets your credit card number and you don't know where they're at. Maybe they're
another
in Europe,
country.
another country, wherever. You can still have that prosecuted in the county that you live in because that's where you are at as
and that's
the
where the
victim.
damage occurs.
Exactly. So in this case here, jurisdiction isn't that much of an issue because it can be established wherever the person, the estranged spouse was on Earth. That is the jurisdiction of where it is prosecuted, and because it's a federal offense, the FTC probably has jurisdiction, so it's not going to be that much of an issue.
And I was thinking, international law is going to now start to deal with space and jurisdiction and crimes in space and all of that, just like they had to do with maritime law.
True.
And I feel like it's probably going to be developed similar to maritime law.
I just don't want to have to pass the bar exam in space. That's all I'm saying.
Well, if you do, you'd be truly an international attorney.
He'd be an alien.
Hey, Todd Cunin, an attorney who is out of this world.
Wait a minute. Just like the girls in the Amargosa Valley.
Hey, you could contact us at 855-529-7234 or tweet us at Radio Law Talk.
You can also email us at info@radiolawtalk.com, and radiolawtalk.com is where you'll find our live stream and all of our podcasts as well. And we thank you for listening. We'll be right back.
All advertising for legal services on Radio Law Talk is strictly for the state or states in which the advertiser is licensed. For more information, go to radiolawtalk.com.
Hi, my name is Lily. My mom and dad used to fight about money all the time. Then one day, I heard them talking about this guy, some uncle I never knew, called Uncle Sam. Well, they say this Uncle Sam guy wanted them to pay him like $1 gazillion, and they didn't have $1 gazillion. So they called this company they heard on the radio called the Tax Doctor. And the Tax Doctor worked with Uncle Sam's people. I think they're called the IRS. And they were able to work it out so my mom and dad didn't have to pay Uncle Sam very much money at all. So now mom and dad are happy, and I'm happy too. Thanks, Tax Doctor.
If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS or state, call now and pay less.
800-263-2610. 800-263-2610. That's 800-263-2610.
Know someone with a drinking or drug problem? Learn how to get sober after we share these stories.
I was 35 with 2 beautiful children when my life and addiction started to spiral out of control. After my divorce, I went into a depression cycle and started drinking more often and using prescription drugs. After my second DWI and arrest, my ex-husband threatened to take our children away from me.
I was 17 when I became addicted to heroin and meth. I thought I could quit on my own, but I couldn't. It hit me when I was arrested.
Get sober now. Your private insurance may cover costs and we'll get you here. It's simple. Just call Elite Rehab Placement right now. Please, don't wait. Your life matters to us. 800-918-1376. 800-918-1376. 800-918-1376. That's 800-918-1376.
Warning, don't let your business get left behind in what is likely to be the biggest economic boom in recent history. If you need to build for your business to grow, call General Steel today for a pre-engineered steel building designed for your needs. No wasted space. Steel prices are expected to rise, but you can still lock in your price on a General Steel building. And you can still save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. As much as half. But you must call now. If you need a church building, office, warehouse, warehouse, manufacturing space, retail space, or more. Call General Steel today. You can still get the General's 50-year structural warranty and General Steel quality, all at a price you can afford. So don't let rising steel prices put your project out of reach and stop you from making your company great.
800-617-9312. 800-617-9312. 800-617-9312. That's 800-617-9312.
Peekaboo. Peekaboo. Smile.
Smile, buddy.
Come on, smile. Oh, honey, he's still not smiling.
Maybe he's not a smiler.
Yeah, maybe he's just not a happy baby.
Maybe he's just being a boy. You know how boys are.
Or maybe he's teething. Oh, poor baby. I think his gums hurt.
Maybe he's just tired.
Or maybe his tummy hurts. He didn't eat that much.
Maybe he's not ticklish.
You think maybe he's scared of the dog?
Maybe he'll outgrow it. Maybe it's a phase. Maybe he just doesn't like smiling.
Maybe he has autism, and we can definitely do something to help.
Maybe is all you need to find out more about autism. No big, joyful smiles by 6 months is one early sign. Learn the others at autismspeaks.org/signs or see a doctor today for an autism screening. The sooner it's diagnosed, the better. And it can make a lifetime of difference. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
I'm a veteran. We hit a mine in Vietnam. When I came home, I didn't know where to turn.
As America's veterans face challenges, DAV is there.
My victory's been never giving up hope. My wife is always there to remind me we have a life to live.
DAV provides a lifetime of support, helping veterans of every generation get the benefits they've earned.
I am a veteran, but after I got out, I spent 2 years alone and homeless.
Every year, DAV helps more than 1 million veterans so they can reach victories great and small.
My victory was finding the support to get back on my feet. Now I'm getting things right with my family.
I finally admitted, with my PTSD, I wasn't doing well.
But there's more to be done, and more victories to be won.
Now I wish I'd found DAV sooner. I am a veteran. My victory is just enjoying each day.
Help support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
Oh, stop it.
This is Radio Law Talk with Frederick Penney.
So we just got through talking about a case from space, and if you were listening last hour, or actually the last segment, you may have caught when we didn't really cover the dynamic of the marriage between the astronaut and her estranged spouse back on Earth. But if you were listening closely, you would find that we were talking about two women in obviously a same-sex marriage. And the only reason I'm bringing that up is because it segues into the next case that we are going to talk about, which is the clerk in Kentucky who had refused to give marriage licenses to same-sex couples based upon her own religious belief. And there have been some developments in that. Denise, what do we know?
We know that in a 3-0 decision, so that means unanimous, out of the 6th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in Cincinnati, the county clerk can be sued in her individual capacity because she refused to give licenses out to people who wanted to get married. Now, her argument was that she had immunity. She had sovereign immunity because she was the Rowan County clerk. And in that position, she has some kind of qualified sovereign immunity by virtue of being a part of the state or the county agency. And what we know is that, she can now be sued. And we've got 2 same-sex couples that have sued her for failing or refusing, actually, to issue marriage licenses to them so they could get married. And now what we've got is her defense is that, look, I didn't mean any ill intent. I just quit completely signing any marriage licenses completely. So I didn't just discriminate against same-sex couples. I just stopped issuing them because my religious belief is that there is not same-sex marriage. It's against my religious belief.
That's right. So that's why she did it. And again, we're talking about two different things here. There is her liability as the clerk of the county, and then individual liability of her own person, regardless of her governmental function. And when it comes to performing your functions or not doing so as a government official, there is the idea of sovereign immunity. And I believe, if I'm correct, the court said, yeah, you're right, you can't sue her as the clerk, but you can sue her individually.
I think they said you could that sovereign immunity shielded her from being sued in her role as a clerk.
Yes, but as in her individual capacity, she could be sued. Now, look, I want to draw the distinction here. That does not mean that the plaintiffs win the lawsuit. All that means is that the lawsuit can be brought. The arguments still have to be made that maybe the law, the violation of constitutional principles and things like that, can be violated by a person in their individual capacity. Because let's remember this, folks. When it comes to allegations of constitutional rights being violated, the only entity that you are protected from having your rights violated from is a governmental entity. The Constitution exists to protect people from governmental overreach, from governmental denial of rights, from governments doing this. So the government can't deny your free speech, but a private employer can tell you, you can't say this at work. The government can't do unreasonable searches and seizures in your house. But kids, guess what? Your parents can, because they're not the government, okay? And so you have all of that. The question is going to be, to what extent is she still facing liability when they say that, well, sovereign immunity applies to her as a clerk, but into her individual capacity? I think that's going to be an interesting argument there.
Actually, the district court denied her qualified immunity claim. They actually got down to it, and they upheld. So the district court, Judge Richard Griffin wrote, the district court therefore correctly denied qualified immunity to her because plaintiffs pled a violation of their right to marry. It doesn't matter if they're same sex, by the way. The violation of their right to marry, and that the Supreme Court established in the previous case of Aberfeld. How do you say that word?
Oh, it's
Obergefell?
Obergefell.
Thank you.
Yes.
So, and that's the one that established the right to marry, even between same-sex couples. So under here, she quit completely issuing licenses, did not do her duty that she was supposed to do, that she was actually appointed to do, and or voted and elected to do. And so anybody, even heterosexual couples could have sued her.
Yes. And I think we might be talking apples and oranges here, because what they held here is, in her role as the clerk, her government, she has sovereign immunity. So then the next question is whether or not she has qualified immunity as an individual. And I'll talk about it in different terms. For example, when I was a district attorney, when I was a DA, I had immunity in prosecutions against people. I couldn't be sued personally or civilly because I was a deputy district attorney, okay? And the only time that I ran afoul of that or would come close is when I went beyond my job as a prosecutor and started actually working more as an investigator by, working with the police to investigate this, to investigate that, reviewing warrants. Now I get into the qualified immunity section. I have the absolute immunity as a DA, but if my own conduct takes me into a different purview, now it's qualified immunity where I have to prove stuff. With her, the court still said you have the absolute immunity as the clerk. So the clerk of the county can't be sued, but let's talk about you as an individual. And that's when the court said, yeah, you don't have qualified immunity as an individual here to gut the lawsuit from the get-go.
But I have a question about that, Todd. It's probably a dumb question, which, as you know, is nothing new for me. But that is, if you're immune when you're for your duties as the county clerk, if you abrogate those duties as a county clerk, it seems to me like you're comparing an apple to an apple, and you can't say, well, you were the clerk, you didn't do your duty, therefore we can sue you as an individual. That would fall into the cloud of the performance of her duty, would it not?
Well, that's because you're going outside the purview of your duty. What she did, there was nothing in the Rowan County Code that authorized her to not issue licenses to same-sex couples.
Does the code say shall or might or may or will? That's the question,
it's
right?
silent, but there was nothing that gave her the discretion, certainly nothing that gave her the affirmative discretion to say, you know what, I think you deserve a license and you don't because I disagree with your persuasion or whatever.
And so she stopped signing all.
She stopped signing all this, and by doing so, abrogated her responsibility as a clerk. So the clerk's office and her as the clerk can't be sued, but her as an individual for not doing her job and then for under the color of authority acting as a government official, even though she's injecting her own personal, she can face individual liability for it. I mean, the big deal here is, follow me on this, if you sue the clerk's office, who pays the damages?
Well,
the government entity does, right?
Course, sure,
all right.
Sure.
If you sue a person individually, who pays the damages? You got to pay for it out of your own pocket, and that's the biggest difference here. In essence, what the court is saying here is that the lawsuit can't be brought against the clerk's office to have the county pay the damages necessarily, but the lawsuit can be brought against you individually. So if she loses, she's the one that has to write the check.
Can the clerk buy liability insurance? Should elected officials then buy a specific type of insurance to cover themselves? Because you know what? It seems to me, based on what you're saying, any court could come up with a workaround. If they didn't agree with what the action was politically, they could come up against her. And I don't know if this is a political point or not, but I'm saying, how do you defend yourself against that?
Well, and I want to point this out, and this gets back to what we talked about earlier when we started this doesn't mean that the court's ruling doesn't mean that she loses. Right. All the court means is that a lawsuit can be filed with your name on it. I mean, sometimes lawsuits get filed, and you can go in if you are incorrectly named and say, look, the law prevents you from even suing me. You can't even get out the gate.
Right.
And the court here is saying, no, individually you can. It remains to be seen whether or not the plaintiffs can prevail. But she can't gut the lawsuit from the get-go simply by saying, I have immunity.
I think this is going to go up to the U.S. Supreme Court because it is two constitutional rights at odds with each other, and who's going to prevail?
Yeah, include the rights of the clerk versus the rights of the people whom she did not
rights.
serve. And let me ask you another question. Has anybody in this state ever heard of this word? Recall? If she's not doing her duty, that's how you get people out of office.
She was already not voted in. She did not make it.
So she lost the election.
She lost the re-election bid already.
We'll touch on that when we come back. One last comment about that. Now we're going to talk about Miley Cyrus, maybe going back to space with that one.
More Radio Law Talk is coming up. You can call us if you'd like, or you can go to the website for more information on that, radiolawtalk.com.
All advertising for legal services on Radio Law Talk is strictly for the state or states in which the advertiser is licensed. For more information, go to radiolawtalk.com.
If you're one of those independent people who wants your own business and you love food service, we just might have a great opportunity for you. Iceberg Drive-Ins. Iceberg is famous for its thick shakes and delicious food. We lend you our supply chain and expertise, and you can potentially have a thriving, successful, fun business that your customers will love. Iceberg Drive-Ins has some prime areas available right now, so if you're interested, get in touch with us right away. Go to icebergdrivein.com and click on the Contact Us button. Iceberg Drive-In, ready to grow with you.
Jason Rosbach here with Fred Penney, managing attorney from Penney & Associates Injury Lawyers. Now, Fred, what type of cases are you dealing with now, and what sets you apart?
Jason, we help people with all types of personal injury cases. We're former insurance company trial lawyers. We understand the other side, which gives us a distinct advantage over our competition. Remember, we don't get paid unless we win.
That's Penney & Associates Injury Lawyers with locations throughout California. For a free consultation, go to pennylawyers.com or give them a call, 1-800-616-4LAW. That's PENNEY lawyers.com.
I am Cameron Levitt, Chief Operating Officer of Concussion Medical Clinic. California's first concussion medical clinic is now open. As concussions increase each year, there has never been a greater need for concussion specialists. Our physicians at Concussion Medical Clinic are board certified in pediatric neurology and sports medicine and have partnered with universities, hospitals, and rehab clinics to expedite the recovery process. Simply put, we are elevating the standard of care. When you need an expert concussion opinion or concussion care, visit concussionmedicalclinic.com to schedule your appointment.
Many women have so many clothes in the closet, but then we go to get dressed and find we have nothing to wear. We've all been there. We all want to be comfortable and fashionable at the same time, and it's difficult to find clothing that makes that task effortless. But at Letty & Company, you can find trendy, comfortable clothing that is affordable. Things you want to wear every day. Shop with a purpose, online with free shipping. Just go to lettyandcompany.com. lettyandcompany.com.
Most of my family, they never graduated high school or even let alone go to college, so I'm trying to break that barrier. My daughter Brooklyn was also a motivation for me to go back to school. Every day after work, went straight to school, studied hard, and it paid off.
At age 26, Kareem finished his high school diploma.
I could not have done it alone. I feel like if I didn't have anyone to push me, I wouldn't even bother to do it. I got one milestone down the drain, and now I got to work on the next. I see the future is really bright for me. I feel like it doesn't matter the age, as long as you go back and get it done. The high school diploma is just added to the confidence, and now I feel unstoppable.
No one gets a diploma alone. You have more support than you realize. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
I've got to get my car washed. This dirt, it just won't do. But I don't have no time today. I don't know what I do.
Man, I know this place right down the road. Quick, quack, car wash. Hop inside, let's take a ride and watch this cat and shine. Just come and see, I guarantee your ride will steal the show. Come on, quick, quack, car wash. Don't drive that dirty car. Quick, quack, car wash.
180 over 111, and I had a stroke.
145 over 92, and then I had a heart attack.
150 over 90, and I had a stroke.
This is what high blood pressure sounds like. You might not feel its symptoms, but the results from a heart attack or stroke are far from silent. Get back on your treatment plan or talk with your doctor to create a plan that works for you. Go to loweryourhbp.org.
Everything's changed.
Brought to you by the American Heart Association, American Medical Association, and the Ad Council.
If you pay my fee, I'll take your case.
Time to get back to Radio Law Talk on RadioLawTalk.com and on your favorite radio station.
All right, so I want to finish up just a little bit on this clerk of the court in Kentucky. I want to go back in time, just take a step previous. We've analyzed this case from the standpoint of the clerk is already in place. Normally, she issues marriage licenses or has the responsibility to issue marriage licenses. And we've been viewing this from the standpoint of the couple as an aggrieved party that comes in and is denied a marriage license, right? I want to go a step back in time before the first person ever applied for a marriage license and view things from the standpoint of the clerk who claims that who at that point in time would have claimed that she is an aggrieved party because, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to issue a marriage license contrary to my religious beliefs. What would be the remedy for somebody that finds themselves in that position? And my thought on it is this. You chose to become a clerk of the court, right?
Of the county.
Of the county. And you knew what the responsibilities were, and you raised your arm and took an oath to fulfill the duties of the clerk of the county that included the issuance of marriage licenses, not marriage licenses only to heterosexual couples, but marriage licenses in accordance with the law. All right. And you took a duty to uphold the law as it is. OK. if you had a conscientious objection to performing your duties, your remedy as the clerk is to not take the position. If it's an elected position...
Or resign if you're there.
If it's an elected position, don't run. If the law changed after you were there, then it's your responsibility to resign. If you cannot fill the functions for which you were appointed, elected, or otherwise hired, your remedy... I mean, that would be like a cop saying, well, I got a moral objection to guns. They're not going to let you do patrol if you're not going to carry a firearm.
But you see, the people have redress against an elected official.
Yes.
The people can always remove her from office. They can recall her or get her out by the next election.
Which they did.
They have the redress. So I don't see where the harm is from that perspective. I understand there may be individual couples who say, I'm offended, just like there are couples who are offended if a baker won't bake them a cake because they're either heterosexual or gay, or whatever it may be.
No,
I can see where they're offended, but
very more. It's not the same-sex issue. She refused to issue any marriage license. Can you imagine her attorney? She goes to her attorney and she says, look, this is against my religious belief. And they're going to go, well, if you just issue licenses to heterosexual couples, then you're going to be discriminating against same-sex. So just don't issue any. Don't do your job at all.
But
right?
She had deputies do it. They were still issued. She just wouldn't do it. They had deputies. The county did not stop issuing marriage licenses. They were issued.
Yeah, but she stopped doing any herself.
Right.
Yes.
And so she thought, I'm protecting myself by not issuing any licenses. And that is absolutely not going to be protective for her. Well, that's not going to give her a defense.
That was the best solution she could come up with, I guess.
And the interesting
Resign.
And the interesting thing is she could do that individually, but my guess is that every marriage license is issued, whether she physically issued the license or not, is going to bear the seal of the county clerk's office, which is going to have her name on it during the term of her office. And so even though she had a deputy do it, this is from the clerk's office, and so her name's still going to be on that thing, even though she didn't do that. But look, I think we've discussed this one enough. The point is, if she had a problem with it, she should have resigned. And she ultimately did, but she's still going to face liability. But that's why we got into that one. Now let's shift gears here. Miley Cyrus, okay? Talking about marriage. And, we went from space down to Earth, and now we're going to go back to space again.
Lost in space.
She's a star. But Miley Cyrus's marriage to Chris Hemsworth, folks,
Liam.
Or Liam Hemsworth. That's right. Chris is Thor.
Is the older brother.
Yeah, he's the older brother. He's Thor in the Avengers. Liam is the younger brother, and I know it's a shock. A celebrity marriage is coming to an end. It rarely happens, but this one is happening. Denise,
these two dated on and off for over a decade.
They did.
And they got married, and 8 months after they got married, they're now separating. And they're both making allegations against the other. The Cyrus camp has said that Liam was doing drugs and misusing alcohol, and the Liam camp is saying that Miley Cyrus was just too out front with her relationships with women.
Yeah, right.
Right? So, and before they got married, obviously Liam knew that Miley Cyrus was, bisexual. It was pretty much out there. She admitted it to it and all of that.
And she knew that he was using drugs. How could she not?
Maybe that's an allegation that I'm not sure that he's even been made public.
I mean, if it were valid.
Exactly.
If he were using, she would certainly know.
Then she would have known in advance. Right. Exactly. Right. So now they're starting to get a little bit in each other's face, which they don't need to. After 8 months of marriage, it didn't work. You guys save your careers. Just let it go.
Walk away.
They came from such diverse cultural backgrounds. He's extremely conservative family, and her family's not.
Right.
They're very opposite. Very lovely families. I don't mean anything negative about that, but they just don't mesh. Their relationship was kind of an odd when it started. It was kind of odd when they got married all of a sudden.
So your advice to them, if they came to you, one of them came to you seeking counsel, I know you're not giving a very legal advice. What would you say?
I hope you have a prenup, first of all, which I'm assuming they do, but I don't know that. And just let's make it peaceful. Let's just get out of it. Irreconcilable differences. Nobody's at fault for this. Walk away. Walk away, save your careers.
That seems logical.
So TMZ is reporting that they did have a prenup that means that whatever, I mean, look, we're talking about a marriage that only lasted 7 months.
8.
Okay, or 8 months. Well,
8.
was it 7 or 8 at the time of the separation? I think you could make the argument that when you go on, the marital assets, correct me, marital assets, the community property stops at the time of separation, not necessarily the time of the divorce or filing. Can that make that argument?
That is correct.
So whatever they made collectively over those 7 or 8 months is all that would be subject to community property law anyway.
Depending on what the prenuptial says.
And the prenup apparently says that everything was separate property. So I don't think that this is an issue.
So what's the big deal?
This is an issue here. But let me put a different spin on it, because and this is important because we have listeners that are in a bunch of different states, Tennessee and Kentucky and Pennsylvania. Texas. California is a no-fault state. You don't have to prove adultery to get your divorce. You don't have to prove. You can simply say irreconcilable differences and the divorce is done. In other jurisdictions, notably Tennessee, and I say that because that's where Miley Cyrus was raised.
That's right.
And in those jurisdictions, you do have to prove
that's a fault
some
state.
sort of fault in order to get the divorce and how things are split. But in California, you don't. And so the question is, why are they bringing all this stuff up? I would submit that they are bringing this up because of their careers. Follow me on this one, okay? It's very common for the fans of both sides and collective fans to say, well, team this person, team that person. And whoever is viewed as being the villain causing the breakup stands to lose a fan base, especially on Twitter, where your fan base can go down and maybe you make a lot of money on your following and the number of folks there. And this could very well be a play that has nothing to do with the legal ramifications, but the ability to continue to court followers of the general public by saying, I'm the one that was the saint in this relationship. They're the reason I split, and vice versa. It's all about trying to appeal to the fan base. And then there's my skeptical's conspiracy theory thing that is funny that this is all happening around the same time Miley Cyrus is releasing an album, and I wonder what sort of buzz this generates about her music.
Well, Miley Cyrus was a songwriter and a singer, and she used to be part of Disney, and she used to be seen as this, perfect little person, and then she turned 18, and she decided, I'm breaking out, and she's then became the bad girl in a lot of ways, and has, lived her life almost as a bad girl.
And musically has been fighting to maintain relevance.
That's true.
That's right.
That is very true, because she comes from a country kind of hillbilly rock background, and she came into pop, and now she's trying to break out with her. Oh gosh, now I'm gonna forget that song, the one where there's Wrecking Ball. Wrecking Ball.
So we're moving up to the bottom of the hour. All I'm going to say is what's going on has nothing to do with the legal ramifications, has everything to do with non-legal stuff. We'll be back.
You have been listening to RadioLawTalk.com, a copyrighted presentation of Radio Law Talk Incorporated.